Long ago, in a peaceful European kingdom nestled between deep forests and winding rivers, a child was born to the king and queen after many years of waiting. They named her Aurora, and her birth was a joyous occasion celebrated throughout the land. Bells rang from cathedral towers, and villagers filled the streets with flowers and music. The royal palace itself seemed to shine brighter than ever before, to bless the newborn princess. The king and queen invited 7 wise women of the kingdom, not witches or fairies, but scholars, healers, and guardians of ancient knowledge. Each came bearing a gift for the child. The first gifted her grace, the second, intelligence, the third, kindness, the fourth, courage, the fifth, beauty, and the sixth gifted her patience. But just as the 7th wise woman was about to speak, an uninvited guest strode into the hall. She wasn't a sorceress with glowing eyes or crackling magic. She was a powerful noblewoman who had once served as a royal advisor. Years earlier, she had been dismissed from the court after a series of sharp disagreements with the king. The humiliation had festered, and she felt forgotten and wronged. Standing before the cradle, her voice was cold, laced with pride and bitterness. She declared, when this child turns 16, she will prick her finger on a spindle and she will die. A chilling silence fell over the celebration. The joy vanished, replaced by a cold dread. Then the 7th wise woman stepped forward calmly. Her voice was steady and clear. "I cannot undo her words," she said, "but I can soften them. The princess will not die. She will fall into a deep sleep, one that will last until she is awakened by true love." The curse was spoken, and with it, fear took root in the heart of the kingdom. Determined to protect his daughter at any cost, the king ordered every spinning wheel and spindle in the kingdom to be destroyed. Aurora grew up surrounded by a wall of protection. She was educated in music, history, languages, and diplomacy. She learned to ride horses through the sun-dappled countryside and spoke with genuine kindness to the villagers. She became beloved by all who met her. Yet her parents' fear was a silent, invisible cage that shaped her world. Servants followed her every move. Guards watched her every step. Doors that should have been open were often locked. Aurora didn't understand why she felt so confined, so watched. She only knew a constant sense of being held back. As her 16th birthday approached, the king and queen grew more restless with each passing day. They clung to the belief that if they could just get through that single day, the danger would finally pass. But fate, as we know, does not always wait for permission. On the morning of her 16th birthday, Aurora found herself wandering through a rarely used wing of the palace. Drawn by a sense of curiosity she couldn't explain, she climbed a narrow, winding spiral staircase she had never noticed before. At the very top, in a small, dusty chamber lit by a single window, she found an old woman spinning thread. Aurora had never seen such a strange and fascinating tool. "What are you doing?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Spinning," the old woman replied, a faint, knowing smile on her lips. "Would you like to try?" The woman was, of course, the former royal advisor. She had hidden herself away, waiting 16 long years for this exact moment. In her innocence, Aurora reached forward. The sharp point of the spindle pricked her finger. A single, perfect drop of blood fell, and then she collapsed gently to the floor. Just as the seventh wise woman had promised, Aurora did not die. She fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. But something else happened then, something unexpected. The wise woman, seeing the tragedy unfold, extended her gift even further. Not only Aurora, but the entire palace fell asleep with her. The king and queen slumped in their thrones. The servants froze mid-task. The guards stood like statues at their posts. Even the crackling fire in the hearth paused, its flames frozen into stillness. Time itself stopped within the castle walls. Outside, the world moved on. Years turned into decades. A thick, impenetrable wall of vines and roses grew up around the palace, creating a natural barrier of thorns. The castle became a legend, a whispered tale among travelers about a silent fortress hidden from the world. Many brave and ambitious men tried to break through the thorny wall, seeking fame or fortune. None succeeded, but a century passed. A young prince named Adrian heard the legend of the sleeping kingdom. Unlike the others who had come before him, he wasn't drawn by the promise of a beautiful princess or the glory of breaking a curse. He was driven by curiosity and a deep sense of compassion. He wondered what kind of fear could have silenced an entire kingdom so long ago. When he reached the edge of the enchanted forest, the thorns did not tear at him or block his path. Instead, they parted before him as if time itself had decided it was finally ready. He walked through the gates and into the silent halls. Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust, but was otherwise untouched by decay. It was a world paused in a moment of sorrow. At last, in the highest chamber of the tallest tower, he found Aurora. She was sleeping peacefully on the floor where she had fallen. She did not look cursed or trapped. She looked like she was simply waiting. He didn't see her as a prize to be won. He saw a person, a kingdom, waiting to be freed. He knelt beside her, and instead of a conqueror's kiss, he whispered softly, "Your kingdom has waited long enough." Then he gently kissed her hand. In that instant, Aurora's eyes fluttered open. Light streamed back into the palace. The frozen flames in the hearth roared back to life. Servants stirred, confused. The king and queen woke up on their thrones, looking around as if only a moment had passed. Aurora rose slowly, feeling as though she had just woken from a very long and vivid dream. When she learned that 100 years had passed, she did not weep for the lost time. In that moment, she understood something profound. Fear had been the cage that imprisoned her, but patience had been the gift that preserved her. Aurora and Adrian did not rush into marriage as the old stories might have you believe. Instead, they spent days talking, truly getting to know one another. They spoke about the world that had changed so much, about leadership, and about their hopes for the future. Aurora, for the first time in her life, was able to choose her own future freely. meet, and when they did eventually marry, it was not to break a curse, but to begin a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. The kingdom flourished once more, not as a land ruled by fear and restriction, but as a place guided by wisdom, courage, and a newfound freedom.